Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another product unboxing and review. And today we're going to be taking a look at a very affordable scope by a company called SVBony. And I have reviewed one of their scopes in the past that I used on a Ruger 1022 and was actually impressed with it. I kind of felt it was on par with some of the more entry-level options from Nikon and even Leupold. Maybe not as nice, but for about $20 to $30 less than those other options, it was actually pretty good and pretty well built. However, when it comes to the price of this one, I don't know what to expect. This one is extremely affordable. Based off of the box, it looks like a copy of a Trijicon ACOG, and I don't think this is a poor man's ACOG. I actually think this is probably a person that has taken a vow of poverty's Trijicon ACOG. Yeah, it is really affordable, so I'm not really sure what to expect. I don't even know if this thing is like an airsoft scope that's been kind of beefed up a little bit. I really don't know. And I know some people aren't even going to watch this video, but one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, number one, is Trijicon doesn't send me scopes. SVBony does. So I'm going to take a look at them no matter what. But number two, I believe the Second Amendment is for everyone. It doesn't matter what race you are, what religion you are, what sex you are, even what gender you are, and especially it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. I know that once upon a time, I was not in the financial situation that I am in now. So maybe somebody is looking for an extremely affordable option for maybe a braced pistol for home defense, and this might work. I have no idea. We're going to unbox this together. Now, I will be honest with you, when it does come to price, I do think you get what you pay for. The other scope from this company that I reviewed was give or take $100, where some of those other entry-level scopes I was talking about from the more reputable companies were about $130 to $140. This scope right now, I believe, is retailing for about $35 to $40. So yeah, you probably do get what you pay for, but you never know. I have been surprised. So let's go ahead, adjust the camera, let's unbox this thing, and the gun we're going to mount this to is one of my 9mm AR-15 SBRs. So in the past, when I have reviewed some of these cheaper scopes, people have complained that I only put them on 22s because honestly, I kind of feel like that's what these are built for, but we're going to shoot this thing on something a little bit more substantial this time. But let me go ahead and adjust the camera. Let's unbox this thing. Let's see the quality, and then let's get it to the range and actually see how it performs. All right, so here is the box that it comes in. It looks pretty standard for all the other SVBony products that I have seen. It says that this is the model SA102. The color is black. The specification, it says it is 2.5 to 10 power with a 40mm objective lens. So it is made in Hong Kong, and I guess that's all we need to know. Made in China. So let's open this thing up and see what we get. All right, let's take the top, move that over. Here is the scope. We get a couple of other things in here. We get an Allen wrench, we get a cleaning cloth, a user manual, and some silica beads. So we'll put that to the side. Let's put all this over here. Let's get the scope out because that's what you guys are here to see. And there we go. All right, so it's not an ACOG in the fact that it has a fiber optic cable in it or anything to help illuminate the reticle. It looks like it is electronic. I do know that it does have some batteries that were included in it inside, and there's two battery compartments, one for this little laser that is on the side, and I guess one to illuminate the reticle. It has these little covers over the scope. Let's go ahead and take those off. Those are honestly pretty darn cheap, so nothing to write home about there. All right, so here's the scope. It's already mounted on this mount here for, I guess, a Picatinny rail or an M1913 rail. We have adjustments for the eyepiece. Here's the knob to adjust the power. And let me check this out. seems to move okay. However, I can already tell there is an issue here. So we can see that this knob moves pretty freely up and down. It is not mounted on that scope well at all. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence in the build. Let's see here on the top, we have one of our turrets. Yeah, that is not very good at all either. Really loose. The clicks are not very audible. It seems to be really sloppy there. Okay, so not a big fan of that. Let's take off this top here for the adjustments. Okay, those seem to work pretty well. Turn the knob. Okay, the whole thing turns. That's not good. All right. Who knows? Maybe this thing's going to work. Let's take off the other turret here. Here's our click adjustments. All right, that all seems to work like it's supposed to. And the laser, let's push that button. Okay, it seems to work, but it's fading. I don't know. I was reading about this, and one of the complaints that some people had is that the batteries in here are stacked. So let me show you what I mean. So if I take this out, you get 3 batteries and they all have to be stacked in there versus like one type of battery that would just be easier to install, but here they stack 3. I'm not a big fan of that. And then I believe the other battery is here on the side. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that out. I might have to take that out in just a minute, but I believe it's a pretty standard battery, maybe a CR or something. I'll have to double check on that. I'll take that out in just a minute. And I do know that the reticle in here is illuminated by some type of red or green light that shines on it. And that's how it works. You have both red and green with 5 illumination settings, from 1 to 5 for green and 1 to 5 on red. Let me go ahead and look through this and make sure that it's working. Yeah, it definitely is. And if I look through it, I can tell that that reticle is very bright. However, it's very big. It almost obstructs your view. And I'm curious how that's going to work in a low light situation, but I guess you can run it just by turning it off. The front of it kind of looks a little bit cheap. The glass isn't super clear on it, but of course we're talking about a $35 optic here. I do see some machine marks here on the mount, but I guess it's functional. All right, so that's what it is. Right now, I'm not super happy with the build quality. It definitely does feel cheap, and I definitely do not need this laser on this. I'd rather just have the scope, but I guess that would make it even cheaper than what it already is. All right, so I'll set all of this aside here, and let's go ahead and mount this to this gun. Let's see if it even fits the rail at all. And yes, this gun has already been safety checked before this video. So I don't want any of the safety Sallies commenting, saying, you didn't safety check that. I absolutely did. All right, so let's see if this thing's gonna fit. Seems like it will. All right, no issues there. I don't think it really matters right now where I put it. I'll adjust it for the range. Okay, so those lock down. Okay, seems to be on there kind of solid. I think it looks way more tactical than what it actually is, but that's what it looks like here. Okay, so build quality, I can tell you right now, is subpar. It feels a little bit on the cheap side. I really don't think the reticle needs to be illuminated in any way, shape, or form, but for it looking like a Trijicon ACOG, it's definitely not an ACOG. All right, so that's the unboxing and the mounting. So let's get this thing to the range. I'm going to start off with just the target at 10 yards. I'm going to see where all the rounds go, and then I will try to adjust 10 more rounds on the head of the target and see if I can get this thing zeroed and what my initial impressions are. I'm going to start off with the reticle illuminated green and at the lowest setting, which is 2.5 power. So let's see what happens. All right, so the first thing I'm noticing is that for 10 yards, I guess it's an okay group, but the field of view of this thing is really small. It's really hard to see anything else except just right at the center of the reticle. The glass, I guess, is clear, but it's not very focused. And I have to tell you, even at 2 times power, the eye relief on this is very unforgiving. It's very sensitive. Your eye just has to be in the right place. Now, I do want to say is that I do have 20/20 vision. I've always been very blessed with that. And so getting scopes to focus has never really been a problem. I've always been pretty lucky with that, but I cannot get this one really to get super clear. And I have adjusted the eyepiece as much as I possibly can. It even has a range knob here on the top, which doesn't really seem to do anything. It seems to be very cheaply made, and I don't see any difference whatsoever as I turn it. So very disappointed in that. I don't think they need that at all. So if you're going to put something like that on it, it really does need to function better. The reticle is pretty big, and the illumination, even on the lowest setting, simply is too bright for low light situations. So it's just too much clouding your vision to really get a good picture on the target. But does it work? Yeah, I guess it does. It does look like it is magnified a little bit, so I really can't complain about that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to 15 yards and I'm going to increase the magnification to 4 power. So I know the eye relief is going to get even more fidgety here, but I want to see what happens to this group. Is it staying zeroed, and is this mount going to hold? So far it is, so let's just see what happens at 15 yards. All right, so I have to say that group is actually pretty good, but this scope is not a lot of fun to use. My complaints are still the same. I really can't get a focused image through this, even adjusting the eyepiece and this little range knob at the top. I have to say that the field of view is even smaller, and the eye relief is just so unforgiving. It has to be absolutely perfect for you to be able to use it. So I'm not really enjoying it. I don't see really how this could be a functional scope. It just doesn't seem all that well built with these adjustment knobs. I don't know. I'm not happy with it so far, but it is working. Then the mount is staying on there kind of tight. All right, so now we're going to go for the head on this target, and I'm going to set the target at 20 yards. We're going to see what happens to this group, and we're going to go all the way up to 8 power. So not quite full power on this thing, because I don't think the eye relief at 10 power is going to be usable at all. But let's find out if I can even shoot this thing at 20 yards at 8 power. And all I can say is that group was not very good. And it's not because the mount is wobbling. It's not because I think it's becoming unzeroed. It's just because I can't clearly see through it. It's just not clear glass. It's not focused, and the reticle simply is too big. So I just don't like it. Well, I want to do one more test before I give you guys my final thoughts on this. And I'm just going to do a mag dump through this thing, because if this mount is going to come loose, it's going to by the end of this. So let's see if this cheap mount survives. If it does, I'll let you know, and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts. And is this scope worth the money? All right, so if there's something positive I can say about this scope on this review, it's actually going to be the mount. It stayed tight the entire time. Although the mount itself doesn't look very pretty, you see some machine marks on it, it actually works, so I have no complaints there. But as for the rest of the scope, and what I'm about to say is probably going to not make SVBony very happy, but this thing honestly is a piece of junk. All of the control knobs are very loose. It seems very cheap. It looks poorly put together. The glass is not clear. I can't get it focused. The field of view is simply too small. The eye relief is too unforgiving for such a small scope that would be used probably in more close quarter situations. I just don't like it whatsoever. And this is another case of you do get what you pay for. The reticle simply is too big. All of the illumination settings on it are too bright. I just did not enjoy shooting it. I really think what this is an airsoft optic that has been modified a little bit so it can be used on firearms. That's what I honestly think it is. And this is one of the problems with many of these companies, because these are designed and built by people that are not allowed to own firearms. So maybe they reverse engineer some scopes and they try to use what knowledge they have and build something at an affordable price, and often it just doesn't work. Sometimes it works, like the other scope from them that I reviewed worked just fine. This one, however, is a big disappointment. And so it's very cheap, it's very affordable, and you do get what you pay for. So on my star system, how would I rate the SA102 scope from SVBony? I'm only going to give it 1.5 out of 5 stars, one of the lowest reviews I have ever given. And the only reason I'm giving it a little bit of points is, number one, the mount, and I guess it does function. It kind of held zero. It did work to some capacity. But honestly, if you're looking for a very affordable scope, that's something like this, I think there's better options out there. Some from more reputable companies and some from these off-brand Chinese companies that are knockoffs. I've seen knockoff Trincicons that are way better than this. So if you're looking to spend $35 to $50 on an optic, simply don't do it. Just pass it up, save your money. If you're not in a good financial place, it is completely worth it to spend $150 or $200 on a decent scope or optic. Trust me, you get what you pay for. So only 1.5 stars on the SA102 by SVBony. I gotta be very honest, I am very disappointed in this, especially because I reviewed that other scope from them that was pretty darn good. So I think they're trying to be tactical here, make it look kind of like a Trijicon ACOG, but it simply fails. It's just too poorly put together. It just doesn't work, and the controls feel so cheap. I definitely say avoid this at all costs and spend your money elsewhere. But if the people from SVBony are watching this review, I still have hopes. What you guys got to do is go back to the drawing board on this. I'm telling you, the American gun market will buy affordable optics. They just have to be quality. So put some more engineering into this. Get more people to field test it. And maybe you can come up with an option that's like this, maybe in the $100 to $150 range, that has a lot more options, better built, better glass, and it might actually work. And something else I would recommend is get rid of the laser. We don't need the laser on this if you're just going to use the scope. It doesn't add any tacky coolness to this scope at all. So get rid of that. But only 1.5 stars, once again, on the SVBony SA102. So I am recommending that you avoid this. It is very cheap and definitely not worth it. But I'm glad I got to review it, and hopefully I gave some good information to some people that might be looking at it. So please avoid this. So that's all I got to say about this. So on this one, I'm a little bit disappointed. It's just something that I was expecting to be maybe a little bit nicer and might be a decent, affordable option for somebody that's looking to buy something really cheap that might work because of the financial situation they're in. However, I would avoid this one at all costs. So that is my review and unboxing of the SVBony SA102 Scope. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and please avoid this scope. So, as always, Thanks for watching.